Okay, we all watched the videos, and now we're going to talk about them instead of writing a big essay. Okay, for the air quality video, what are your initial thoughts?
I mean, I for sure was grossed out.
It was.
That was my first thought.
I felt really concerned for the kids, the children who were just like playing outside.
They've got like jacked lungs to begin with because
And
they're not even developed.
the ones that were like playing in the water, the kids that were like in the
He's
water.
like, we used to play in this river. You're like,
I used
cool,
to be
stop.
clean.
Yeah, don't do that.
I love him being like, my mom told me to wear a mask, but I felt awkward, so I didn't. I'm like,
Right. That's definitely
worth it. Yeah, it was definitely okay. The problem seems to be primarily poverty driven, since it's like driven through burning coal and things, which is just because it's cheap. So who should be responsible for stepping in? Should it fall to the Chinese government, or should other governments step in because we're all really breathing the same air, this stuff's circulating?
I don't know a whole lot about the Chinese economy. I do know that in the U.S. anyway, coal mining is a profession predominantly, occupied by lower socioeconomic folks. So if their economy is anything like ours, it's probably just poor folks trying to make a living, in which case there may be some kind of weird distribution of wealth. And in that case, I would say that the Chinese government should step in. I don't know as much as foreign interference, how that would play into it.
I think with China, it's next to impossible, but in a perfect world, they would take aid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
like ideally.
Right, because ideally the kids aren't.
Haven't we
Breathing it in.
offered?
I don't think. I think we
someone
try not
else.
to mess with China so much, just because our economy is so codependent with theirs. So we're kind of like,
We want their coal.
yeah, we're like,
We don't care.
do you want our coal also? Yeah, we're the worst.
They'll treat you coal for coal.
We're literally the worst. What do you think is the best way for them to move away from coal?
Well, I mean, there are cleaner energy sources, like obviously solar or wind. I don't know how much wind they get. I don't know if that'd be.
But like
The place they were talking about was in a valley, because they were talking about it settling. So I mean, ideally, I really like nuclear, but the problem is just lack of regulation.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nuclear
But if
is kind
something
of
goes
like-
wrong,
It's so
it goes
clean.
wrong.
Yeah. But folks are also kind of scared of nuclear stuff. Because,
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
in
because
here,
when it goes wrong.
it goes really wrong.
Yeah.
It's and then Japan built theirs like right along the ocean, then it slid in. They were
Yeah.
like, it's all gone. We're like, okay. Do you know of anywhere with similar air quality issues? You live like near LA. It's kind of the same energy.
It's rough. It's not as bad, but like India has
India,
really
yeah.
bad air quality.
They're like number 2 in coal production, I think.
Have you seen that video of Indonesia right now, and the sky is completely red because of the fires?
Oh,
I think
It
I
looks
did see something like that.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
Also, Mongolia has a really big problem with this, where like people used to be farmers, but the plants stopped growing because it was just dry and they weren't getting rain. So like the livestock started dying, and they just had to move into cities. But they're like dirt poor, like they're living in tents, so they have to burn coal, and it's just like it's not even a mining thing. It's just like them burning it in their houses is like ragged.
Yeah.
Oh, what else sucks is how they were talking about that city. What was it called? Tianjin or something like that? They used to be an agricultural community, and how it used to be agriculture was the driving economic force in their city, and then they turned to coal because, I don't know, everybody wants coal and it was there. And it's crazy to think that how healthy the environment probably was when they were doing agriculture.
Oh yeah.
Because it was like thriving, and they go from that to this other extreme, and it's nuts.
It's funny because we watch a lot of videos in this class, and every single one where it's like they're supported by agriculture, they get jacked by volcanoes, they get jacked by people coming in and messing it up, they get jacked by like droughts. Like it's just like no place that does agriculture is actually sustainable for long.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing it like mass production, which actually takes away the healthy aspect of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's
There's
gross.
no winning situation.
we're dying. Does China have the right to develop its economy at the sake of its people and the environment?
I mean, if you're going from a like uninvolved approach, yeah.
Objectively.
Objectively,
Yeah.
yes. However, no.
No,
Yes, but
because
also no.
if you're developing the economy but you're destroying the environment, then you're going to end up with like your whole country in the dumper anyway, because it's going to be a crappy environment that nobody's going to be there. They're all going to either everyone's going to just like die, or where they're gonna leave, because if they can't breathe, if everybody's getting lung cancer because of the air quality,
Yeah.
they're not gonna stay there.
No.
And then the economy's gonna die anyway. Plus, I mean, if you're ruining the environment, that can't be good for, you know, birth rates or anything like that. So, you know, there could be fewer people living there in the future just because they're not healthy. And
Yeah,
then,
Well, the
there's
babies
not
are
gonna be a
really
country for the economy to, you know, there's not gonna be a population to stimulate the economy.
Well, that's not that they don't have the right. That's that they shouldn't do it. They should look ahead a little and see that this is stupid.
You know.
I mean, objectively, yeah, they do have the right. Should they?
Yeah. Should they do it?
No,
Absolutely not.
but you can't
obviously.
really put it. The only way to get around that is really put in a United Nations sort of deal, but it's where it's a governing body. I know the United Nations
Wasn't
kind
it
of is, but
The Paris Accords or something like that, something about the environment?
that's about emissions though.
Um,
So that's while coal is an emission, I think it was primarily aimed at like car emissions and that kind of thing. I'm not.
well,
I
maybe
should
they
be
should.
positive. I'm not.
Maybe they should kind of encompass coal into that,
Yeah.
or a different kind of like
Well, the problem is
industrial.
countries can opt out. We opted out for Christ's sake. Like China could certainly opt
Yeah,
out and just
And
say,
they would.
well, yeah, and that's the thing is like, okay, you can find them, but these countries have massive. America's got no money. We've got debt, but we still are willing to just pay the fine, like whatever.
Yeah.
Big bummer. Okay. For the population video, I think this is less of an issue personally, but with the overpopulation being a growing problem in the world, is this really an issue?
That's actually what I was thinking as I was watching it. I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, it's kind of an issue for like Japan, but like for
Yeah.
overall, is it really that big of a deal?
And I mean, realistically, I know it's really horrible to say, but it's kind of like people have to die. We're running out of resources. I don't know. And the thing is, like, you can see it coming, so you could like edge your economy away from leaning on Japan and just like
Mhm.
completely save yourself from the collapse.
I guess that's true. I mean, environmentally speaking, yeah, it makes sense that it wouldn't matter.
Right.
But then I guess if you're thinking like culturally speaking, it kind
Yeah.
of sucks,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
big time.
It's like if I'm trying to be a good human being, yeah, damn, I wish all those people wouldn't die. But like environmentally,
Yeah, but I wonder if it's like, because it's just Japan. How much of a dent are they making? Like, how much of an impact on the environment are they making anyway?
Japan's actually not necessarily everywhere, but there's like an island on Japan that is 100% recycle rate. In your house, you have like 30 different categories. They do it like hardcore, and they have like zero waste.
Oh.
So there's definitely isolated patches where they're doing better than everybody else,
So
which
what-
they're trying.
We don't want them to die.
No, wait a second.
I also have to call into question what the environmental impact of like all those people decomposing is, just like nitrogen cycle wise, and like I just kind of I'm kind of curious what that
It's
would
not
be.
that there's like a surplus of old people in the sense that
No, there
there's
is.
like not like there's an uncharacteristically high number. It's just that there's it got lower as people, as you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
as
their
the
pyramid
older
looks like
people
this.
Yeah.
had children and they didn't want to have kids so much, and then their kids didn't have kids so much. So it's like it's not that it's just like there's a weird spike in old people.
Oh no.
It's just that
Overlapping
younger
young
people
ones.
aren't wanting to have kids, which makes it seem like which makes the disproportionate amount of old people.
Mhm.
So I don't know if there would be like extra nitrogen in the ground, and if anything, there would be less nitrogen in
No,
the
no, no.
ground.
I'm saying everybody dies.
The whole country.
Well, yeah, that's what we're
Oh yeah.
headed towards. I don't know,
I mean,
It's
if they
just
did die, then probably some kind of crazy thing would happen.
because I don't know culturally if they. I would imagine they cremate people just space wise. There's not really space for graves.
I don't know. I don't know what their burial practices are.
I don't either. I shouldn't, but I could.
Should.
Okay, what is the best solution to Japan's population problem?
I guess I don't really know how you would solve this because it's not so much. It's more like people are choosing not to.
Yeah, you can't force someone
procreate.
to have a kid.
Right. Just like
It's just
the opposite
unethical.
disaster that happened in China, where they were like telling people not to have kids, and that was a whole mess. And
Yeah.
you can't
Oh,
force
God.
And it
Japanese
created-
folks.
But yet it created the same problem
Yeah.
because China's on the decline too because there's like 30 dudes to one girl
Right,
and they're like
exactly.
drowning.
um,
Oh, yeah.
you can't force them. They did mention that they were gonna have immigrants come in and like I
Mhm.
guess breed with the Japanese people, which is super weird.
Oh, it's a foreign girl now. I'm willing to do it.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know.
My solution was this because it seems like they're like, I don't know, I've got work, I can't really date around and have a kid. my solution was like companies offering pay for
Like paid leave.
paid leave.
Well, it seems
get
as
some
though they feel like they don't get paid enough to sustain a child. So
Right.
maybe that's the problem with
That's
the
true, too.
economy. It could be like,
Well, there's a lot of countries, I want to say Russia did it and a few other countries did it, where they pay you every year for your kid. So if you have more
like
kids,
an extra
just a lump sum, like, hey, you have a kid,
like child support from the government.
kind of, yeah. So it encourages, like, if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, you can do that because I'm going to pay you $50,000 a year because you have this kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know a lot
That's
about
doable, yeah.
the Japanese government. I mean, economy, but it doesn't seem super egregious or anything.
No, I think it's pretty standard, to be fair.
Yeah.
They're very
I don't think
tech-based,
it's
but...
very.
You know, people in power don't like to let go of their money, so.
Well, yeah, but it's not coming out of their pocket. It's coming out of
The
government
government's
funding.
pocket.
Yeah, it's coming out of an
People in power.
imaginary pool that doesn't really exist. We kind of talked about this, but what other countries have to worry about a shrinking population? China is definitely
Right.
on the decline. Honestly, America's kind of getting there because I
Yeah.
find that our generation, less and less, is like, I want to have kids.
Yeah.
It's
And-
like the more educated folks become, like
Yeah.
especially women. It's
That's
more
true.
of a trend with women. The more educated or the more opportunities women have, the less likely they want to have kids.
Yeah,
And it's
goes
because we've created a dichotomy in our country and in our culture where it's like women have to choose either if they want to be a mother or a professional.
Mhm.
And so that whole like idea is so like deeply ingrained that women now that they have more equal opportunities, they're like, well, I want to be a successful professional. I don't want to have to choose to be a stay-at-home mom. I want to develop myself.
Well, I think we also watched, like, for me, I watched my grandmother who had 8 kids, didn't graduate high school, and then, her daughter, my grandma, had 4 kids and graduated high school but didn't go to college. And then my mom kind of went to college and then had 2 kids. So it's like, yeah, we're on the up and up. It is as you get more educated. And you kind of look at the people before you and you're like, I don't know if I need 8 kids.
Yeah.
It's not necessary for me.
Exactly. I could be a cool aunt.
Yeah,
I'm already a cool
might
aunt,
be
and it's
better
not even that
anyway
cool.
because I mean the fewer people on the planet are probably the better for the environment because we're kind of screwing it up.
Well, it is better for the environment, but the problem is, like, we're a developed country that could actually handle the growth and, like, feed our people, but, like, countries like India, their population's growing, but they don't have the means to support it.
Yeah.
So it leads to, like, starving kids and just,
We need to educate women everywhere.
we do, but a lot of countries culturally don't really want to do that. What should the role of government in population be?
Again, it's so hard. You can't like force someone to have a kid. And, like,
But is it unethical to offer incentives?
I don't think it's unethical to offer the opportunity because you can still turn it down.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I think
Still
what
say
you
I
were
don't
talking
want it.
about with like the welfare from the government
Yeah.
seems like a fair incentive. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't. As far as like promoting people to have kids, I think it's more ethical to say, well, if you have kids, we'll pay you an extra money to support them. Then it would be like when China was like, stop, you know?
Yeah, but I just realized the problem with that system because I was sitting here and I literally had a thought where I was like, $50,000 a year would be nice. So you're preying on vulnerable groups. It's like when they post those flyers on campus and they're like, $30,000
Like-
for donating eggs, and you're like,
yeah.
I could.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you're preying on like that kind of sucks.
Lower socioeconomic folks.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, that's unfortunate. Because like, am I in a position where I would objectively have a child? Absolutely not. But for $50,000 a year, would I make it work? Maybe. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you're not putting the child in any of a good condition.
Well, they can stay with my parents. I need tuition money, Bethany.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, these are just general questions. They're not tied to any video. What do you think the biggest environmental problem is currently, and which one should be prioritized first?
Well, last year we talked a whole lot about like biodiversity and how important it was to the environment, and so that one I would say is like the most important because without biodiversity, literally everything else gets affected.
Yeah.
Greta Thunberg says that we're at the beginning of the next mass extinction. So,
No, no, we are, and their big evidence for that is the dying of insects.
so that might greatly impact
Especially
biodiversity.
insects. It's a problem.
Yeah, we need
I let a spider live in my bathroom the other day because I thought he was gonna like eat the gnats we have, And then I came back and he was gone and there was a gnat in my bed and I was like, okay, buddy.
Not doing your job.
Get out.
Not paying rent. I think biodiversity is a pretty good one. I'm a big supporter of the plastic pollution in the ocean.
Yeah,
Just
that
because,
one.
Yeah.
just because they're finding them on the bottom now and we've got no way to filter that out.
Yeah.
I definitely think our emissions are also a very, very big thing because we're like killing the ozone
Yeah.
layer.
Although it's actually kind of regrowing. And in this week in environmental science, we've been talking about the nitrogens and the sulfur cycles and everything. And actually, if we weren't just messing up so many parts of it, it could kind of regulate itself better. But it's because we're burning fossil fuels, burning forests, doing a bunch of other stuff. Like the fertilizers, like we're doing too much at one time. I think if we like cut back on some of it, we could kind of help that regrow.
Well, here's a out left field. I think what our biggest problem is education. Because a lot of folks like Joe Schmo doesn't know anything about the environment. So obviously he's not going to recycle. He's not going to care about politicians that are going to, work to cut back emissions or work to create programs that keep plastic out of the ocean and promote biodiversity. So it's education among, regular old folks. They don't know.
I think along with the education though, it's the old people like my dad that are like, whatever, I'm dying. And I'm like, okay, but
It's a great mindset.
you have children and grandchildren, like
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
don't be a d-bag. Do you notice any climate change caused problems in your day-to-day life?
I mean, I've noticed that food prices have gone up like a whole lot.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now that we're buying groceries, we're like, damn, do I need that avocado? Probably not.
I think it's been, at least where I come from, I think it's been staying warmer later.
Yeah, 100%. Because I remember
Yeah.
wearing jeans on my first day of school, and you just can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think it's hard when you're in Phoenix because you get so like it's just such a different scale. You don't even know what's going on in the real world. You're like, I don't know. It's gonna be 100 until November. I can't tell you.
Also, this crazy rain we've been having. Where's that coming from?
It's monsoon season, dude.
Wait, it wasn't raining like this last year.
Well, that's because they didn't really have a monsoon season last year. I think.
They didn't?
I actually remember hearing that they didn't get a very good monsoon season last year,
Oh.
but it's hidden this year.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when we first moved in last year, there were some huge.
I remember one,
but
that's all I know. And then it drizzled a few days last year in the
But
fall.
the drizzle days are so nice, regardless.
They're nice, but it's also, we've been getting like rainstorms.
No, yes. Well, it's all this week too.
And what with that tornado in Phoenix? Where'd that come from? Right?
Bad farming practices. Okay, in all of our respective home states, is there a sense of being environmentally conscious or no? Just for the record, Kelly lives in California, I live in New Mexico, and Bethany lives in Texas.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Like, there's a lot of environmental stuff. Like, if you go into Malibu, there's like no plastic, so they don't give you plastic straws. They don't they don't even offer you a straw, and they're doing like a whole lot of stuff to avoid using plastic straws. So we have like paper straws. They have spaghetti straws.
Oh,
Which are pretty
Pasta
cool.
straws.
Yeah, the pasta straws are pretty neat.
I did see, when I was in DC over the summer, they had a whole bunch of like paper straws, like even 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
They had
Yeah.
paper straws. And then in all the restaurants, they had compostable straws, which I thought was so
Those
cool.
are
Yeah,
the
it's
coolest. Yeah, we were somewhere the other day, and I was like, and actually, my friend lives in LA, and I sent him to a boba place there because it came up on my page, and I wanted to see if it was good. And he sent me a thing, and the disposable cup is the same price as a glass reusable one you can take home.
Amazing.
Which is
Perfect.
so cute.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I really want to. We might take a day trip to LA. For New Mexico, there's definitely not a very big environmental conscious. We have like a program called Toss No Moss every year, but it's really like elementary schoolers pick up their campus one day. That's really all that it is. And like they just cut our recycling program back to picking up every 2 weeks instead of every 1 week
Oh, wow.
because people don't use it properly, so they're like struggling. But it's
Yeah.
like they don't teach people. I didn't know that you couldn't recycle plastic bags until I moved here.
Oh, jeez.
I didn't know that you couldn't do that.
Wow.
So there's no yeah, we're not very good about it. And even if like I live in, it's so flat, you can drive out to an Arroyo and you see a couch and a TV, and people are just the worst about it because the dump charges you a bunch, and you can only go on certain days, and that doesn't work for people like they work.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not set up for success.
In Texas, we have absolutely zero, no kind of,
Good old Texas.
I don't know. There's no recycling. I don't have our family. No one in our neighborhoods. I've never seen I've never driven past a house in my town or in any adjacent towns that has a recycling bin. I didn't know. I have no idea what's recyclable and what's not. We have Don't Mess with Texas, which is, like you said, elementary school kids pick up trash. That's just to stop littering, but people still litter.
Oh yeah.
But I have no idea how to recycle. I don't even think we have a recycling plant near us.
We only have one in our town, and sometimes the stuff just goes straight to the dump.
So, and we definitely don't have compostable straws. Genuine plastic.
See, and that's the other thing. I don't know why they don't do buyback programs.
About?
In New Mexico, like, you know how they have that on the can? Like, they'll buy back, like, your aluminum can for 5 cents.
Oh.
I would use the hell out of that, but we don't have that. You know how many poor people there are in New Mexico?
Mm-hmm.
That would save their cans? How much soda we drink in New Mexico and Texas?
Yeah.
Christ, you could recycle so much aluminum, it's not even funny.
Yeah, and then you could just get some extra change. I do see people picking up, sometimes I see folks picking up trash in the park, like cans and stuff, so maybe they do have something like that where I live, but
Maybe.
I've never seen it.
I just know we're
They
not on
haven't
the back of
made
the
you aware.
cans.
Uh-huh.
But they haven't made you aware of
No.
those switches.
And God knows they don't teach recycling in school.
I didn't know anything when I got here. I was like recycling it like a plastic bag. She's like, Claire was like, you can't do that. I'm like,
I didn't know.
okay, my state's poor. They didn't teach us that. So,
Yeah.
regardless. Cool. Thank you guys. The videos are super interesting. I've been loving it.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were.
They were cool.
Those are like the things I watch on my own time, so I open it every week and I'm like, ooh, great. I love Vice. Okay, thank you. I'll type up my summary of this, I think is what you want, so I'm going to type it up. If you don't like it, let me know.